Mussolini came to power politically by threatenings of force. After he was included in the Prime Minister's electoral coalition, he was able to climb the political ladder enough to be a candidate for the new Prime Minister. He then used the March on Rome and the Squadristi to threaten the Italian government and Rome in order to become Prime Minister and come to political power. This is consistent with fascist theory and the definition of fascism, because he wasn't really using politics, he was using threats and force. And fascism tends to have a distrust of political leaders and politics because the supporters were often disillusioned with the politicians, and so he resorted to force instead. Mussolini's regime was also really consistent to fascist theory because he was very war-oriented and wanted to invade and conquer all the land around Italy as part of the Terra Iridata, which is a very nationalistic idea, also consistent with fascist theory. He also returned to traditional economic tactics by removing state controls and allowing the economy to run by itself. And this mimics fascist ideas because he wanted to return to more traditional methods and return to the former glory of Rome, and not because he knew that the state right at its current level was failing. Mussolini also enforced strict law enforcement to control the crowds of people, and this is consistent with the definition of fascism because oftentimes violence was used as a totally acceptable ends to the means. And so instead of court or judicial ways of governing, he used strict law enforcement in order to enforce violence and terror. So overall, Mussolini politically, through his economic, his war focus, and his governing style with law enforcement, was extremely consistent with the definition of fascism.